So are we ready?
This is Jay,
This is A,
and this is Moxicated.
where we drop the booze and walk through the reality of life alcohol-free.
So grab your favorite mock, get ready to laugh, and let's get moxicated.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you today?
I am great and excited. How are you?
I'm excited too.
Because we have a guest.
Yes.
We are so lucky and excited to have Hollie Nicholson on. Hi, Hollie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're great. We want to know about you and we want our listeners to be introduced to you. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, I'm Hollie Nicholson, and I am a strength and nutrition coach for busy moms, women in midlife, and I help women build strong, lean, confident bodies without extremes. And I started my strong training method in my garage as an accident during the pandemic. And now it's grown into a global community. And at my core, I just believe that strong is more than just muscles. And it's about living a life that really feels aligned and full. And I'm all about helping women build bodies that they're proud and they feel really good living in.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
so cool. And such a cool thing to have come from the pandemic, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that because we were just stuck in our homes and I am a spin instructor and I
Okay.
remember going from, being in the studio 4 times a week and I was trying to create stuff at home, but I'm like, I'm a spin instructor. I don't know what to tell my clients to do. So it was so cool to see, that there was creative minds that were able to make something out of that.
Yeah, I already had kind of a community from just teaching at my local gyms and at my church, which is also where my kids went to preschool. So I'd already had this like community of women who would drop their kids off at preschool and then come into the gym and work out with me. So when, the world shut down, it was like I really lost that adult interaction. So it was kind of selfish if I'm, really honest with myself. And it was like, I still need my people. So I was just offering free classes on, Zoom. And then when the gyms opened back up, I had said, okay, guys, we're going back to the gym. See y'all later. And that was when it kind of came out and people were like, well, I wasn't really comfortable going into the gym. You taught me how to lift weights. I Amazon weights. I bought them off Marketplace, that kind of stuff. So it just kept building one session at a time. I just kept getting people interested. And I just kind of said to my husband, I said, well, I guess they're not quitting. And if I'm going to do this, I might as well grow it. And so that's what I've done.
Oh,
Wow.
that is amazing. And it
Yeah.
feels organic by that, like not something that you're like, I'm going to create this and people are going to come. You already had the people there and you're like, okay, now how do I make this work? So that is
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, and
Yeah.
it feels too like you mentioned that it was selfish for you, but also not selfish because all of that community like needed those classes were we didn't realize how important they were to us until they got taken away from
Right.
us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, those women needed you just as much as you missed them. And so, to create that space and then to allow that space for them to be like, wow, this is actually what feels empowering. This is actually what I prefer. I didn't like that before. It's such a cool thing to give busy moms, busy women,
Yes.
and something
Yes.
they can do at home. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
never mad about that.
Right.
So, you are sober.
Yes.
Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
I have been alcohol free since May of 2024. And, back to the pandemic, even I had, we all kind of drank a lot. Well, unless you were, I don't know when you all were sober, but we all kind of drank a lot during the pandemic. And even during the pandemic, I had these moments of I'm going to give up alcohol. And so in July of 2020, I went 6 months with no alcohol, which is like right in the middle of the
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And so I had like lots of, these stints of sobriety of where I wasn't drinking. And then on the day after Mother's Day, 2024, I just woke up and was like, "Man, this is just not serving me anymore. And I'm going to be done and I'm going to be done for good." And here I am, what, 16 months later, I think. Is that?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So incredible. And I think it's cool because when we talk about us becoming alcohol free and sober, we really talk about the trickle effect and how, making that decision to remove alcohol from our lives then inspired all of these other wellness decisions that came after it. And it kind of feels like that almost happened naturally in reverse for you. Like you had already made all of these wellness decisions for yourself and then just feeling like I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Yeah, that was a very big part for me. It was like I woke up at 5:45, well, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I work out with my community at 5:45 a.m. every morning. I am fueling my body appropriately. I'm preaching that we need to sleep and that we need to get sunlight and we need to go outside and we need to touch the ground and we need to do all of these things that are, a culmination of being well in our bodies. Yet I was still doing that one thing that was probably the worst possible thing I could do for it, which was putting alcohol in my body. And it just didn't feel aligned with my life anymore. And I knew that in order for me to feel fully aligned, I needed to take it out of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And such another good example of being able to make that decision without anything really having to make it for you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, it was like it wasn't that my life was falling apart or, I always talk, because I have so many women in my community and I always talk about it. You don't have to like hit rock bottom. You don't have to drink every night. I was not a daily drinker. I never drank during the week. I got up too early to ever drink during the week. It wasn't about my life falling apart. I quit because I wanted my life to come together fully. I wanted all the pieces of that puzzle to fit together. And that was the one piece that was just missing.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question about how you feel. Well, is this
Yeah,
now the time?
go for it.
Because it's very controversial on Instagram. But how do you feel about these fitness influencers that talk about moderation? Do you like, have you seen the videos and then the comments that go with them where they're like, I'm doing this workout from here, but here's when I'll have my like vodka soda, and then the tips of how to moderate and still drink and still stay healthy, I guess, in the way. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that something
Yeah.
that you felt like you came across or experienced?
Well, I think that's why I really felt I was very nervous to share that I was alcohol free. I didn't share it for a very long time on my Instagram. Here I was, this, had this following, had this community, but I kept it very, very close to my vest for a long time for a couple reasons. And one of them was because I felt like it was just hard for other women to relate to me because here I am, I'm not drinking, right? It's already hard for
Yes.
women to work out, eat well. And it was like that one thing that was still connecting me with, my potential clients or people that, wanted to do my workouts or to do my program. It was that one thing that connected me. And I didn't want people to feel judged as they were coming into my community, that I judged them because they drink and I don't. The other reason I really kept it close to my best to myself was because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself enough that I would, fall off the wagon or start drinking again for a long time. And, I really think that that's how women sometimes feel when they commit to a fitness program or a nutrition program. They don't trust themselves. And I then decided I need to put this out there because while I do not judge women that come into my community that are drinking, I feel like just as it is my responsibility to tell women that they need to strength train so that we're not losing bone density and we're living long healthy lives, I also need to educate them on the risks of drinking alcohol.
Thank you for
Wow.
that.
Yes, that's
And thank you for
great.
your vulnerability because I'm sure I've never looked at it that way. We have talked a lot about how much alcohol plays into networking, but when you are trying to relate with someone who has been othered or, is vulnerable and doesn't feel like they can connect, and there's that one piece of connection, how it could feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to give that up? And that just speaks to our like that's our only, sometimes our only connection as adults, and to kind of have to find a new way. And so thank you for your vulnerability. And I'm wondering, how far into your journey of alcohol free did you say, okay, now's the time for me to share it?
Yeah, I think I probably shared it maybe when I hit 6 months, because I had gone on another podcast at 6 months, and it was kind of like, that's when I'm going to do this. Like, that's when I feel safe enough for myself. But I knew that day. I don't know what it was. I just knew that day that was it. I it was just like something clicked that day, and I don't know what it was, but it was just like, I'm done, and this is for good, and I don't care if my husband, I don't care if you drink, and I don't care if my friends drink, but it just no longer has a place in my life anymore.
Yeah. And I can relate to that. And I really attribute it to like not only a strong sense of intuition, but also clearing out the noise and listening to that intuition. And that's the place that I like just pray for, everyone of this world to be able to be like, tune the outside noise out and be like, what's best for me? Like, what do I need? And sobriety is usually
Yeah.
at least for us.
Yes.
The other thing too is what kind of kept me going is that every time I shared about it, on my social media or anywhere, the amount of messages I
Mm,
got was just, women saying, I've been thinking about doing this, or how do you do it? I want to do that, but I can't. And it just made me feel like this is part of my purpose.
yeah.
My part of my purpose in life is to help women feel really good about themselves, help them get healthy, help them get strong, help them feel good in their bodies. And alcohol doesn't make us feel good. So it falls under the umbrella of everything that I've done.
Yeah.
And every time, and I always say I'm not a sobriety influencer. That's not my goal. And it would be a disservice to other women if I'm not honest and I'm not sharing
Mm,
that I am a sober person. But it's funny to me because every time I post something about being alcohol free, it gets the most engagement of anything else. But it's almost like people don't want to acknowledge it, or they're just not quite ready to take the full bite, and that's okay.
yeah.
Like, what if part of it is just me allowing people to give themselves permission to drink less.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
And there are
so
so
good.
many times where, you go into alcohol free feeling like you might be lost connection wise, but just like you said, you receive DMs, messages from people that you never would have connected with otherwise, who you resonated with. And so it is like almost an even stronger connector than alcohol could have ever been.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah. I
Yeah.
also relate to, I think when you start to, as a fitness instructor, you get into it for whatever reason, but then when you start to see people changing their lives, it's addicting. And
Yes.
then, like, as a, this is just for me, like, I'm like, yes, when you see that click, when you see that, confidence come out, when you see them, doing something that they couldn't do a little bit ago,
Mhm.
you're like, yes. And for me, I've just wanted to be able to do something to give more of that. And
Right.
it's so cool to see that alcohol free connection because you're like, yes, this is another way of healing, another way of being healthy, another way of growth.
Yeah.
And it's so
Mhm.
cool.
I know. I feel like I've been one of those people for you, like in spin when I fully committed and loved it so much.
It's so cool
Oh,
to see people transform their lives. And that is connecting.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So as you are in your new space, alcohol free, just kind of out there, and you're growing your business, where are you going next? What are your next goals?
Yeah, well, I love my community so much, and my real next goal is just to continue to grow my community and, have different partnerships with, alcohol-free influencers because I do think it's such a like it's such a they mesh so well together because most people dip their toes in the water of the alcohol-free lifestyle because they they care about their health, they care about their wellness, they care about their mental health, they care about their physical health, and it's just so much. It just connects so much. So I don't like have any like big plans to like write a book about being alcohol free or anything like that. Nothing like that, but just continue to share the message that it's it's still fun. Like life is still fun, and you're not missing out on anything if you're not drinking. Like it's that I don't feel like it makes me less fun. It actually has made me more free.
Yes. Oh,
Exactly. Yeah. It really it's funny to feel like alcohol is something that lowers your inhibitions when really like releasing and moving away from things that aren't serving you is what kind of frees you up and
Mhm.
releases whatever, is meant to come out. And I really appreciate a goal of just growth, That's almost like, true to who you are is like just I want to continue to grow what I've already done and make this bigger and reach more people. And I'm curious if there are women who come to you, maybe that are sober curious that you are able to kind of see transform their lives or their relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, I think a lot of my clients have moved towards drinking a whole lot less because I'm just very honest when I talk about, most women come to me with the goal of changing their body, usually losing fat, losing weight. And I'm very honest and I say to them, if your goal is fat loss, alcohol really does not they don't go together. They do not go hand in hand. And I'm honest, I say I don't drink alcohol. It has nothing to do with body composition goals. It has everything to do with health. And I feel like it's my calling to give you the cold hard truth about what alcohol does when you're trying to lose fat and also what alcohol does to your body in general, the cancer risk, all of that. And so I have had a lot of women in my community say, I'm drinking less. I haven't drank for months. Hey, what was that alcoholic beer you were drinking? What is that mocktail you're drinking? They're always asking me those questions. And it's been really fun to see people kind of experiment and, say, you're right, Holly. Like, people actually don't care what's in your glass because that's what I always tell them. I'm like, Nobody cares what you're drinking. Nobody, they're so concerned about what they're drinking that if you are trying to change your body and you decide this weekend that you're not going to have a drink at a party, nobody actually cares.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And but we feel like it,
Yeah.
we feel like there's almost a spotlight on whatever's in our hand. And, if so we do get like the one stray question, it almost confirms our fears. But at the end of the day, nobody does care. And it's so cool to just see you out there inspiring women by being honest. And as you're talking, I was at the beginning of your conversation, I was thinking, how does she approach the judgment issue? And it almost to me feels like you get around people feeling judged by just being straight honest with them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because my husband and I were talking about this the other day, and it's really funny that my fear when I went alcohol free was my online presence in my business, because that piece has been way more welcoming to this lifestyle than my personal life.
Wow.
I was like, oh, the personal piece of it will be totally fine, and the business is what worries me. I just kind of was always that fitness person, as you say, those influencers that was like, okay, here's my workout, and now here's my beer, or here's me
Yeah.
skiing down the mountain, and here's my beer. And so that has actually, I think it's because the two align, like being healthy and being strong in what I stand for actually really does align with that alcohol free lifestyle. And the personal piece of our life has been a little bit harder because my husband actually quit drinking as well.
Oh.
Which it was not something like I ever asked him to do. And I just sent him a text today and I was like, did you realize it's been 9 months since you've had a drink? You're like not far behind me. He's like, oh, I didn't even realize. And but we have had friends that come over and they'll be like, "Well, I'm not going to drink because you're not drinking." And I'm like, I don't care if somebody drinks in my house. It's just not for me. So the business piece was definitely actually ended up being easier than the personal piece.
Yeah. I
Sometimes it's easier to be honest, with strangers than it is like your closest
Hmm.
vulnerable, maybe
I
vulnerable.
feel both because I completely agree with that. I get so much more positive support, I would say, online
Yes.
versus in person. It's more of like inquisitive. Like, so wait, why, they, because it is a friend or a relationship and they're not behind a screen. So they do word vomit sometimes, or, and you're like, oh, okay, we can do this. But yeah, I think that is a huge, you saying that, because I completely agree too. And then I just think it's so cool because I feel like there are not many alcohol-free fitness
Right.
influencers, like at all.
Right.
Like
There's
I'm
not.
try like when you were just talking, I was looking at my phone because I was
Girl.
literally trying to think of another one. I I don't know any.
Well,
Because it's a lot of people want to say like, okay, you can diet and still have your wine. A lot of them use that as a marketing tactic. I mean, I've seen that in even bios of, influencers. And I've always prided myself on, number one, I don't like consider myself an influencer because I I'm a fitness professional. I'm not like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
that word has never felt aligned with me. But yeah, I just feel like they just want to, allow people to be like, oh, I can get you results and here's still the wine. But like, what is it actually doing to your actual body? And one of the really big things for me was that in 2022, I had a breast cancer scare. And that was the first time I went down the rabbit hole of what alcohol actually does to your body. And unfortunately, that wasn't enough for me to give it up back in 2022. But when I decided in 2024, I kept going back to all that research that I did when I had that. And, the connection between alcohol and different cancers, especially breast cancer, was enough for me to finally say, okay, I'm done.
Oh, that gave me the chills.
Well, and we've talked about before how freeing, another like freeing part of sobriety is when you do have a health scare or a health issue, like alcohol use is eliminated from that health scare or health issue.
Right.
And you're able to kind of approach it in a much different way. And that is so valuable, like looking at things from, a health standpoint, to be able to just say, like, oh, that's not an issue because we know, and I'm sure and how much it is an issue in so many parts of our health.
Yeah.
Um, and I just am so proud of you for making that decision, which I'm sure you still did in fear, to be vulnerable and share with your online community because, like Al said, there aren't a lot that we can think of at all that, are this real about alcohol use. And I can bet that there are so many women out there who have been trying all the things, trying to moderate, trying to, work out at 5 a.m. and have that glass of wine at night that might turn into a bottle, might not, however it is, and that see you and are like, oh my gosh, okay, I don't need to do it all. I can't do it all. And I don't want to do it all, or any of those thoughts. And it's such permission for women. Like,
Yes.
you are just like, just your life is an example of permission for ladies to say, I don't have to do it that way anymore.
Mhm.
And it started with your fitness. I don't have to do it
Mhm.
that way anymore.
And I think a lot of times it's about keeping promises to ourselves
Mm.
Mm.
and having enough self-respect to say, okay, I'm going to do what I say, whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, or whether it's alcohol. If you're going to say, hey, I'm going to go this week without alcohol. If you're telling yourself that, then have enough self-respect for yourself to keep that promise. We don't like to break promises to other people, but we have no problem at all breaking promises to ourselves. And I think a lot of times it is just about that respect that you have for yourself and also the respect that you have for your body. Why do you want to pour that in to your body?
Oh, I love that. And honestly, two things that I feel like, well, I'm going to remind them to take from this episode right now that I have is you said in the beginning is trusting yourself,
Yeah.
which is so huge. And then the self-respect. Like you're exactly right. We don't break promises to other people, but then we break them for ourselves all the time, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's like I don't know a lot about your fitness program. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that out loud, but it is, well, no, but it is like just talking to you right now. I'm like you're so cool. Like this isn't just come work out with me. It's like let's change your life. Let's
Yeah.
a full lifestyle change. And I think that that is so much needed in the fitness community because it is a lot of the time a fad, someone's going to do this for 3 weeks and then be done with it, and it feels like with you, it's a full lifestyle change to better yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of what we use in my community is that this is more than a workout. This is a lifestyle. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
is 100% a lifestyle, and people will come in and say, like what do you do that's different than everybody else? And I say, I actually probably do a lot of things that you've heard, and I'm going to teach you how to actually nail the basics and nail the big rocks because those are the things that matter. And I'm not here to sell you on a fad. I'm not here to tell you you have to, have this, or this. But what I am going to tell you is that there are these habits that you do need to have in place. And after you nail them, you're going to want to keep going and you're going to want this to be a lifestyle change because you're going to feel so good about yourself. But just like alcohol, we don't have to do it all at once. We can make little changes slowly, and they all add up to a full lifestyle overhaul. Really, that's what I'm here to help women do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a word you've used a lot is aligned. And I'm such a visual person. So, like, as you were speaking, I'm thinking of like those old school master locks that have like so many that you have to line up. And it's almost like each thing slowly clicks into place. And when you are in something that is a trend, it is
Hmm.
fleeting and you can feel that it's not attached to anything, it's not locked into anything. And there are some people who get so attached to certain fads and fitness, and then they go away, and then here they are feeling like they have to start over again. But if you are in a position where you're aligning yourself and you're locking yourself in little by little, like, nothing's going to come and go. You're locking yourself into where you're supposed to be. You're aligning yourself with all of your goals. And I think just like in sobriety, that's going to be as different and as personal as, the woman next to you. You're not going to be able to align in the exact same way that they are going to, but
Hmm.
little by little, I'm guessing that's how your clients leave feeling, or.
Yeah, and I think about that. I love that analogy because it's almost like when you start working out, like that's the easiest thing to click for
Mhm.
people, right? And then it's like the next thing people are like, okay, I have this motivation to work out. What's the next action I can take? Okay, then they start to click the nutrition piece, right? And then they're like, what's next? What's still missing? And it's like, these little clicks, clicks, clicks.
Yeah.
And for me, finally, the last click was the alcohol, and it was just like, finally, after all these years, I was finally able to get that last click, and it just feels so good.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
lock opened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I love that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you are absolutely incredible, and
Yes.
we'll send all of our listeners your way. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Hollie Nicholson Strong. I always have to say this at the end of podcasts when I'm on podcasts. It's HOLLIE because people will search with a Y.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, Hollie Nicholson Strong. That's my Instagram handle. And that's also my website. You can find me at Hollie Nicholson Strong.
Yay. And are you taking new clients?
Yes, I'm always so my program actually runs as in sessions. So we run different sessions, but you can also become a member of my community through my membership as well. So you can either do a session, a 8-week session of strength training with me, or you can just immediately say, I'm in, I want this lifestyle, and join as what I call a VIP member of my community. And that is because people start with me and they're like, I want this to become a lifestyle. And so I created the community because people just kept signing up for session after session. And, we work on all those different habits.
Oh, that's such a cool thing to do, to
yeah.
offer like both options. So, listeners, go check her out. Go sign up for a session. Go all in.
Yeah.
She's
Change
the
that
real deal.
life.
Yeah. She's the real deal. Holly, IE, no Y.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Holly. It was so great to talk to you.
you too.
I've loved it. I've loved getting to know you. So thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
listeners. We love you, babes.
Talk soon.